late afternoon calm at Brown University shattered with gunshots in the Barrison Holly Engineering Building as students preparing for finals dove for cover. Chaos spread through hallways and classrooms, emergency alerts blaring phones into silence. By evening, 2 students were dead and 9 were wounded. Hospitals filled with the injured as grieving friends and family rushed in. Police released brief surveillance of a shrouded figure in black, a haunting silhouette fleeing into Providence. But no suspect has been charged. A man once detained as a person of interest was released, leaving investigators and a stunned campus still scared and searching for answers and the killer. Tonight, we have all the latest. But first, Rob Reiner, the Emmy-winning actor who first captivated audiences as Meathead on All in the Family and later became one of Hollywood's defining directors with such hits as When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, was found stabbed to death alongside his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, in their Brentwood, Los Angeles home on December 14th. The couple had been married since 1989 and raised 3 children, Jake, Nick, and Romy. Rob also adopted actress Tracy Reiner from his first marriage to Penny Marshall. Emergency responders discovered their bodies after daughter Romy found them. Both suffered fatal stab wounds in what authorities described as an apparent homicide. Within hours, 32-year-old Nick Reiner, who had spoken openly about his long struggle with drug addiction and periods of homelessness, was arrested and booked on murder charges, held on $4 million bond. The Los Angeles Police Department's Robbery Homicide Division continues its investigation, and the entertainment world has been left grieving and in shock. And we are live from Los Angeles with the latest in the investigation. I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And it was a busy and deadly weekend, and here we are on Monday night. Let's begin, and let's talk about Rob Reiner. All in the Family. All in the Family was the #1 show in America for years. Back in the day when there were only a few channels. So, I mean, a large portion of the population, I mean, a really significant portion of the population, every week would watch Archie Bunker and his family, including, of course, Michael Stivic, his son, played by Rob Reiner, his son-in-law, played by Rob Reiner, who he affectionately called Meathead. He played that liberal young professor who was always butting heads with the crotchety old Archie Bunker, and it was amazing. It was amazing. Hey, we got to know that family and felt like, you know, they were part of our family. But Rob Reiner has his real family. You know, he went out to Hollywood went into directing after starring in this All in the Family show for years and became a legendary director. Extremely wealthy, extremely powerful, and got married and seemed to have a perfect family that was, as we're learning, anything but perfect. And it's interesting. You know, you see this picture that they're all posing for at events, and that's some of the few times that for many of the Hollywood folks, when you get to see their actual family. Unless they have a reality show, then you get to watch them, right? Rob obviously wasn't going to do that. So you look at the family and say, okay, yeah, I'm sure everything's got to be great for them. I mean, Rob Reiner's 3rd generation of Reiners in Hollywood. This is a dynasty. They are Hollywood royalty. How could anything go wrong? Until it did. Double homicide. Rob Reiner and his wife raised that family, murdered inside their own mansion, their throats slit. And you think, well, how did it happen? What was it? You know, the first time you heard it, you think home invasion maybe? Like to get inside that home, to have access to be able to do that, it's got to be either someone they know or some sort of very violent home invasion. And what we've learned is that it was basically all in the family, unfortunately. A suspect has been arrested, a member of his family, and we're learning a little bit more about him. Here's from the LAPD. Here's what they're telling us. As a result of the initial investigation, it was determined that the Reiners were victims of homicide. The investigation further revealed that Nick Reiner, the 32-year-old son of Robert and Michelle Reiner, was responsible for their deaths. Nick Reiner was located and arrested at approximately 9:15 p.m. He was booked for murder and remains in custody with no bail under book number. On Tuesday, December 16th, the case will be presented to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office for filing consideration. His own son. His son, who has a bit of a history. And we're learning a lot more about that history. The history that was memorialized in a movie that father and son did together about his son's struggles with drugs and drug addiction and everything that comes along with it. So let's take you out to Los Angeles. Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas joining us live from the Brentwood neighborhood in Los Angeles tonight. Cody, what's going on there tonight? How would you describe the scene, the neighborhood, the vibe, etc.?
Yeah, Vinny, a huge media presence out here all day. I mean, you just saw the cars coming through here behind me, but it's been pretty quiet as far as the neighbors. You know, only a few walking throughout the day, but you can see here behind me, you know, we have a security guard out front of Reiner's home. It is now a crime scene. What is usually known as a swanky, nice neighborhood out here in Los Angeles has now become this scene of a homicide, a double homicide at that. And, you know, we're about a mile away from Rockingham, where Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman were found dead back in 1994, just to give our viewers an idea of exactly where we are. Now, Vinny, of course, we're talking about Rob Reiner, Hollywood royalty, as you just said. We're talking about When Harry Met Sally. We're talking about A Few Good Men. We're talking about The Princess Bride. All of these movies that we all grew up on, all these movies that the world fell in love with. Now, Vinny, just recapping a little bit of the investigation, you know, police were called out here Sunday afternoon after 2 deceased bodies were found in this home here behind me. Behind all these big gates, you see it's private property. You can't really see the home much at all outside of all this, the bushes and everything here. But they were called out here for 2 deceased people found inside, of course, later identified as Rob and his wife, Michelle, and now 32-year-old Nick, their own son, is sitting behind bars without bond, by the way. LAPD confirmed that. We heard circulating rumors that there was $4 million bond, but he's sitting behind bars in jail, charged with their murders without bond, so he won't be getting out anytime soon that we know of. Now, talking about Nick Reiner, he's been very vocal about his struggles with addiction, with homelessness, beginning in his early teen years, even so much so that he went on to co-write a movie called Being Charlie with his father, Rob Reiner, back in 2016 that was loosely based off of his life and the struggles that he experienced in those early years of his life. But now, again, according to LAPD, Nick Reiner is sitting behind bars without bond. And we also learned today, don't know if they're still there, but at some point today, inside was legal counsel, only legal counsel. The rest of the family, the rest of the children were mourning nearby at Cedars-Sinai Hospital. And reports also came out while we're out here today that Nick Reiner was seen at a house party at Conan O'Brien's Los Angeles house party, no less, on Saturday night with Rob, his father, and his mom, Michelle, seen getting into an argument with Rob. So, of course, that will come into evidence at some point as they present these charges to the DA's office. And on that topic, LAPD says they plan to submit those charges to the LA County DA's office as early as tomorrow. And Vinny, you know, of course, the world is speaking out. The world is mourning, not only the people here in the neighborhood, not only people in Hollywood, but even the Los Angeles mayor, Karen Bass, called the deaths a devastating loss to the city, saying, quote, Rob Reiner's contributions reverberate throughout American culture and society, and he has improved countless lives through his creative work and advocacy, fighting for social and economic justice. Vinny, just a tragedy all around, not only here in Los Angeles, but, of course, around the globe.
So a couple things. To me, that Saturday night party at Conan O'Brien's becomes a crucial part of this case. Absolutely crucial part if there's some sort of altercation there. I've also heard reports that he was acting kind of strange at the party. It was more of a formal affair. He's walking around in a hoodie. We don't know what the argument was about, but anyone who was at that party now becomes a witness to all this. So the bodies are discovered a little more than 24 hours ago. Are they still there at the crime scene? Have you seen law enforcement going in and out? Have you seen forensic teams going in and out? Or do we feel like that may be wrapped up already?
He is in custody right now at an
Vinnie, surprisingly enough, that seems as if it has been wrapped up already. There's been no crime scene tape out here. Now, the block is blocked off, for all the media access and everything going on. There's been security patrols, not LAPD, not actual police officers, but security around the house, making sure that people don't, jump the fence or do anything crazy out here. But they've been patrolling the block. We have security out front of the gate in front of the house. There's a side gate that security's been out there in front of all day, making sure people are, regulated, keeping cars from coming down this street. But Vinnie, no crime scene, no law enforcement, no CSI, no crime scene tape. None of that is out here. Hasn't been out here all day. Not as we speak. I've been out here for hours. There any of that whatsoever.
They wrapped it up pretty quickly. I mean, sometimes I guess you could do it quickly. You have a big enough crew. You get the pictures. You do what you have to do. But it's a double murder at this point. Investigation. Let's talk about. They've arrested the son, obviously, to get into this home. I'm looking at that gate behind you. My guess is there are cameras there. My guess is that you'd have to have some sort of a control to get past that gate because this will be a trial. So, I mean, all these little things that, we kind of take for granted become much bigger inside of a courtroom. What's your assessment of the general sense of security there to rule out an outside intruder, number one, and number two, to provide video evidence, putting them together potentially at the time of the double murder?
Yeah, Vinnie, any sort of security protocols you can think of are out here on this street, let alone on this house. I mean, you see this gate behind me. This gate's at least probably 10 to 12 feet tall, depending on what part of it you're looking at. Even at the lowest part, it's at least 8 feet tall with one of those control call boxes that you have to, you have to click it to go in. It's not anybody can just go in. It's not open. It's closed right now. And you see these tall trees here behind me as well. These are easily, 20 feet tall, and you can't even see to my left over here, but you can't see any part of the house whatsoever. Now, of course, we have other houses across this entire street in this entire neighborhood, and you see cameras all around. Of course, these swanky neighborhoods, there's likely Ring cameras on these houses out here. So, the likelihood of an outside intruder coming in here seems unlikely from my assessment. Even walking around the block on the side of the house, there's another tall 10-foot gate that security has been out in front of all day as well. So not an easily accessible house. You can't even see the house from the road at all. You can't see anything as far as the actual residents outside of these gates and outside of this tall shrubbery here behind me.
Yeah, the only way to see that house is how we were looking at it. You have to have a drone or a helicopter to really get an idea for it. All right, Cody Thomas out in L.A., thank you so much. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Al Wunsch III, along with criminal defense attorney Darnell Crossland and family law attorney Jennifer Brandt. Okay, let's make our initial assessments of how this plays out. Does this become a whodunit or a why did he do it kind of case? Al.
Well, then it's very hard for me on this one because, I had met, September, I was with Mr. Reiner on his new book tour that was out. And I knew his father very well from the Friars Club, doing roasts with the father. And so this hit hard. It really does hit hard. And it's not going to be a whodunit. It's going to be why is it done? To have his son do this to his mother and to his dad like this is it's just a horrific situation. And it's very distressing. And it hurts. I mean, we've lost a great, great American. We've lost a great, great director. We've lost a great, great actor. I mean, you hear stories about him even as a youngster in All in the Family. Because, I mean, he was very young. He's like 20 in that age. And he worked so hard as a script doctor and was able to work on scripts that Norman Lear is working on, who's a remarkable, remarkable producer and creator. And they took him seriously. And then he went to, as you said, went to Hollywood. But he's always kind of been in Hollywood. I mean, he's born and raised in the Bronx, moved up to New Rochelle, and he was inundated into the whole family of great actors because of his dad, who Carl Reiner was just a legend. So we've lost a truly remarkable individual, and I'm curious as to why this happened. I know that there had always been some issues with him and his son, but it's a very tough one for me.
Darnell, I was looking at some of those photos of the family, and they're all lined up taking one of those shots. This one, if we could freeze that for a second, one of these just doesn't look like the others. Like there's something, to me, that's what this case is going to be about. You look at the family looks like a wonderful family, except one of them doesn't look like the rest of the others.
Yeah, so that happens oftentimes when you are well aware that your family member, in this case, your son, is struggling with either drug, even this photo that's up now, he looks spaced out. So a father is going to do everything possible to make his son normal, to try to help his son, to try to integrate his son into a normal space, even when he can be a ticking time bomb. And in this case, he exploded, and he took the very life of the people who love them and try to protect them. The father, the mother, I'm sure they would want the world to see him as normal. And no matter how bad the struggles are, they're not going to tell us about it. But there was evidence of this, as you can see in these photos, and what we hear about the drug addiction, et cetera. So this is certainly not going to be a whodunit. It's going to be a why, but we kind of know the why, but we just got to kind of see, was it mental health? Was it drug addiction?
Do we know the why, though? Because, Jennifer, this could go many directions. It could be drugs. It could be mental illness. I don't know. It could be a Menendez brothers deal. Who knows what they're going to say in a courtroom? I've seen defense attorneys say anything. I've seen accused killers say anything. So what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been a history here of drug use, of homelessness on the part of this gentleman. There's been a history of mental health struggles. I mean, Rob Reiner was really trying to help his son do everything he can, but we really don't know the crux of the argument. People at the party said he was acting strangely, walking around talking to people, and he's apparently exploded before. He apparently wrecked the guest house where he was living and had talked about it in the past. So he was an explosive person. You can see that Rob Reiner was really trying to help him, but had commented, I think, in recent times, saying that his son's mental health condition was really deteriorating and didn't know what to do about him. I mean, he obviously, Rob Reiner and his wife, did not want to call the police, did not want to do anything that would harm their son. They were trying to help him. But we don't know what happened and what was the reason for this argument. It's just really tragic all around, for us, in the public, and most of all for the family. The young daughter, she found her parents, has to turn in her brother. I mean, it's just a horrible situation for everyone involved.
Yeah, the siblings have to go on. All right, Think Tank, staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk more about Rob Reiner. Perez Hilton's going to join us. Plus, coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan investigates a family hike in Utah's mountains, 3 small children, a sudden snowstorm, and a father who refused to turn back. When rescuers finally arrived, shock and horror replaced hope, and now one man faces the harshest accusations a parent can hear. How did a simple outing become a child torture investigation, and will justice follow? Tonight, we investigate.
Coming soon to Court TV.
A Microsoft executive gunned down. Now his ex and her new husband are charged with his murder.
I'm gonna kill her.
An alleged murder plot involving a family's au pair and the married father she worked for.
A social media sensation, now a suspected killer.
Why do you have something against me?
She wrote a children's book about her husband's death. Now she's accused of killing him.
The high-stakes trials you don't want to miss. Coming soon, only on Court TV.
Rob Reiner crafted the comedies that defined several generations. The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, This Is Spinal Tap, even co-founding the production company that would launch Seinfeld. Reiner and his wife of more than 30 years, Michelle Singer, were found stabbed inside their Brentwood home just outside of Los Angeles Sunday.
The call for help came mid-afternoon, around 3:30. The grisly details of extensive stab wounds emerged quickly, and one of their sons, Nick, is now facing charges.
We're going to try to speak to every family member that we can to get to the facts of this investigation.
Reiner was born in New York in March 1947. His father, Carl, was a comedy legend, laying a path that Rob would follow. He worked in front of and behind the camera, cast his meathead in All in the Family at the age of 23, then soaring to success in the 1980s with a string of comedy hits.
For me, the one that means the most is Stand By Me, because it was the first time I made a movie that I felt reflected my personality, my sensibility.
Reiner was also active in Democratic politics, hosting impactful fundraisers and campaigning on liberal issues like same-sex marriage.
If you know you can do something and you have the capacity to, make a change or help out or whatever, I feel you do it.
Rob Reiner was 78 years old. His wife, Michelle, was 68. Stephanie Liebergen, Scripps News Group.
We're talking about the death of Rob Reiner, and it looks like the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife. And the suspect in the case who's been arrested is 32-year-old son, Nick. Now, back in 2016, Rob Reiner and his son, Nick, did an interview with the AOL Build series where they discussed the film Being Charlie. The film was released in 2015 and was loosely based on Nick Reiner's battle with addiction and the family dynamics surrounding recovery. Here's a piece of that interview.
I wasn't really that shy about including some of the bad stuff I did, because a lot of people do things that are pretty unsavory when they're going through that. But in terms of making it a narrative, of course, it's not my life, but it needs to be constructed into a story.
The fact that we were dealing with things that Nick had gone through and how I had related to it and how his mother had related to it, it forced me to have to see more clearly and understand more deeply what Nick had gone through.
He's a dad, right? He's a super celebrity, etc. But at the end of the day, he's a father, and he was trying to help his son, who was obviously troubled. But now things have gotten to where they are. Let's bring in a special guest celebrity journalist. Perez Hilton is with us. Perez, great to see you. How much of this was known before the last 24 hours about Rob Reiner and his son Nick and the family dynamics?
I mean, Rob openly spoke about the difficult relationship that he had with his son and regrets that he had. In fact, doing promo for that movie that his son wrote the screenplay for and that he directed, he expressed regret over listening to experts, which I wonder if he were around today, if he thinks differently of that. Specifically, Nick Reiner, by the time he was 19, had already spent multiple stays in rehab, and that pattern continued throughout the years. He struggled with addiction so much that there were periods of his life that he was homeless because his parents gave him tough love. Nick did not like that his parents were not coddling him. They were supporting him, but they were demanding repeatedly that he go to rehab and that they trust the experts there. So this dynamic of their son being an addict and struggle with his father is something that they both talked about publicly before. And obviously the family knows a lot more than the public does. And one of Rob Reiner's children spoke today, actually. Tracy Reiner gave an interview to NBC. She is the child that Rob adopted from his first marriage with actress Penny Marshall. And Tracy Reiner said that prior to this now infamous party at Conan O'Brien's house, where Rob and Michelle and their son Nick were at, and they got into a fight, that the family was all together at a family gathering. So Saturday was a day for the Reiners to be together. And as of now, we, the public, can only presume what happened at that family gathering. And, we've heard some accounts of what happened at the Conan O'Brien party. But I just keep going back, especially to Rob's 28-year-old daughter and Michelle's 28-year-old daughter, Romy, who was the one who discovered her parents in this horrific state. She's the one who called police. And on that 911 call, she told authorities that her brother, who's 32, had been staying at home and was violent. That is, according to reports, what Romy told the 911 dispatcher, that her brother was violent, and he actually went missing. That call was placed around 3:30 p.m. Sunday, and Nick Reiner was not found until approximately 9:15 in the evening. We still don't know where he was during those hours, but I send so much healing to the Reiners.
Oh, absolutely. But that speaks volumes. If the daughter comes in, Romy comes in, and she sees what happened to her parents, and immediately she knows who's responsible. She knows the history. Go ahead.
Especially because we've learned that Nick publicly even spoke about his violent tendencies in the past, as was mentioned on the show a little bit ago. In a podcast interview a few years ago, Nick Reiner talked about how his parents had sequestered him in the guest house and how he was in a drug-fueled rage and just started punching things and destroying the television and the lamp. But the way that Rob Reiner's son was recounting this story, he literally laughed. It was as if he was boasting about this experience, that if that were me, I would have expressed remorse. I would have expressed, shock that I did that in a drug-fueled state. But no, he seemed proud of what he had done. And I can only imagine all of the other things that he did privately that the public doesn't know about yet.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot more, because this is a double homicide, double murder case, and the defense is going to have a defense, and they're going to try to dive into all of this, and prosecutors have to prove what happened here. One final question, Perez. Is there any information out specifically about what the argument was and who may have witnessed this argument at Conan's party?
I mean, right now, we don't know exactly what the dust-up was over. We have heard that Nick Reiner was going around acting erratically, asking people at Conan O'Brien's party, "Are you famous? Are you famous?" So one can only speculate, was he in a state of drug-induced psychosis, or was he just high, or was he unwell? We don't know. And my guess as a parent is Rob was probably just telling his son, "You should leave. You're not well. You're embarrassing me." Maybe they blew up because of, "You're embarrassing me." A son doesn't want to hear that, if that's what happened. But I'm sure that some people at that party will now be talking to authorities just as they gather more information. And, to your point, I actually hope that there is no defense. Given how this atrocity was committed and the violent manner in which Rob and Michelle, according to reports, died with their throats slit, I'm sure there will be a lot of DNA evidence.
Oh, yeah.
And my guess is he might just plead guilty without a trial,
We'll see. There's always some angle that the defense is going to have, whether it's he didn't do it or he did it because, and there's a mitigating factor. We shall see. Perez Hilton, always great to speak with you. Great information, and have a great holiday season.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Still with us, our think tank, Al Wunsch III, Darnell Crossland, Jennifer Brand. Okay, Darnell, so, it seems a lot's going to come into play when it comes to this party at Conan O'Brien's, right? If he's staying at the house, the sister immediately knows it's him. There's a history of violence here. To me, that's what this is going to be all about. Like, why is he acting up this way? And could mental illness be a mitigating factor? What's the discussion about?
Yeah, it's a hard one, but we know that even Stevie Wonder would be able to see that Conan O'Brien is famous, and everybody, all the Muckley Mucks were famous. And so if he's walking around in a hoodie at a formal event asking famous people, are you famous? He's unhinged at that point. And I'm sure his father probably grabbed a hold of him and probably said, stop it or get out of here. And at that point, he's feeling like, all right, you want me to get out of here? I'll take care of you. So the prosecutors are definitely going to start from that point because they always look to see, was there some kind of friction? Was there some kind of motive? Was there something that sparked this? And they're going to start at that party. And he has a history of this. His sister called and said that he was violent. And so everything that you see here, it shows that his violent tendencies were articulated at that moment. So I think that the defense is going to have to argue probably mental insanity, etc. They can't say, like we just saw in this other case, they were dead and I decided to dispose of the body because I was afraid. I mean, they're getting dumber and dumber with these defenses, but we leave the dumbness to Al. Al, you got any bright ideas?
Yeah, throw you off the show. That works for me. This is a horrendous situation. And once again, as I said, we've lost a great American. Rob Reiner was just a legend. And I mean, there's not a lawyer out there that has not seen A Few Good Men and has not absolutely just soaked up every moment of that movie and watched it time and time again because it was so well done. It was so, for a man who was not an attorney, with Rob, putting that together was just a phenomenal movie. And as I said, it's something that we all as attorneys watch every time it's on and know every line in that movie and have done those lines dozens and hundreds of times. So, we lost a great American. We lost a great actor. We lost a great director, a great producer, and we lost a family man. And, we have to all think about that, this family has been decimated by not just the slaughter of one, but both parents. And it's so at this
both
time
parents,
of the season,
and discovered by the daughter. I want to show you some video from Fox News show. Billy Crystal outside the Reiners' home following the discovery of their deaths. Here he is. He's got his hand on his face. You can see as he's approaching the house and walking down the street. Incredibly sad scene. We haven't seen something like this in Hollywood in some time. But at the end of the day, Jennifer Brandt, this comes down to some family dynamics. You heard Perez talking about the tough love that they attempted. He wanted to be coddled. And at the end of the day, he's 32 and he's back living at home. And that's part of the struggle that takes place. Parents, you want to do anything and everything you can.
Of course, every parent would do the same to try to protect their child, and especially a man like Rob Reiner who has the means to do so, to get him into the best rehab, to get any specialist necessary to try to help this person, his son. But apparently his son didn't want the help, didn't want to go back to rehab, didn't want, he had tried many times. But as to insanity, I'm not so sure. The sister knew that he was violent. He had done violent things before, and clearly he was upset with his dad and his mom and acted out. I guess we'll learn the story soon enough.
Absolutely. Think Tank staying with us. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the other big story from over the weekend. They're still looking for this suspect. We have new video of the suspect in the Brown University shooting. That's next.
Hands. Everybody get your hands.
Scary scene over the weekend at Brown University. 2 students shot and killed, others harmed. Everybody else is scared. They're in lockdown. They still don't have a suspect in custody. There have been a bunch of press conferences. People are questioned, people of interest. And at the end of the day, we've still got a manhunt going on. Here's Chief Oscar Perez from the Providence Police Department.
Our work that initiated today and continues to initiate for a while since it started. We're at the 49th hour. And there's no one that wants to put this individual in handcuffs than us. So this has brought us to a new lead, which I momentarily probably will be able to provide you with. It's going to include video of this individual, as well as photos of this individual. We're asking the public for assistance to be able to identify this individual. The photos I will be able to show you are coming from the area of Hope Street near Benevolent and Vinnie. And those photos and those videos were retrieved around 2 p.m. on Saturday the 13th. And we believe that that's the same individual that we showed you from the previous video that we released. The public is encouraged to use the tip line, which is pretty active. We have a tip line which is staffed with officers from the Providence Police as well as analysts, and they're taking calls as we speak. And we want the public to use that information that they have that may be beneficial to this investigation. They need to call 401-272-3121 +0. I was going to direct you in order to provide the tips that you are providing to us. As well, you can access the FBI website at fbi.gov/Brown University shooting. So this is the first video that we're showing you. This is the individual walking. It's on the sidewalk of Benevolent. And this is prior to the incident. Here we go again with the video too, Mike. Again, you see him walking. Go on to the third video. These are some photos of this individual. And they will all be time-stamped. The last photo.
All right, think tank back. Jennifer Brandon, you shocked that we're still here on Monday night? No arrest in this case, and the best we've got is this somewhat blurry photo of a guy wearing a mask. You know, ever since we normalized wearing masks in public since COVID, it's been a real difficult situation for law enforcement now. Like, we got security cameras. What good are they if everybody's wearing a mask?
I agree, Vinnie, but there are cameras everywhere. Everywhere you go, there are cameras.
This is the best they can do. This is the best. This is the best that they've been able to uncover. Is this like? All right.
Yeah, but there are people out there who are looking at this, and hopefully somebody will recognize him or know something about it, or know by the way he walks, by his clothing, by something, you know, that they'll be able to identify him or heard his, you know, some of the students heard his voice. I mean, it's a horrible thing, Vinnie, and you see this guy walking around, taking his time. He doesn't look like he's in a rush, casing the area. Hopefully somebody saw him and will come forward. That's what we've got to hope for, especially in these, you know, these hours, as it's so close to, you know, have it happening. Maybe he's talking to somebody, or maybe somebody's going to recognize it. The more that they publicize these shots, hopefully somebody will recognize him.
Yeah, nobody from the gym's going to recognize him because he hasn't been to a gym. I mean, looking at this guy, Al, I'm shocked, right? He doesn't look like the most sophisticated assassin out there, and he's basically getting away right now.
Maybe that's the, you know, idiot's delight. You've got a situation where the guy is not as skilled as you might want to be under these circumstances, but is just blending in and is gone. I mean, to me, my heart, you know, goes out obviously to the victims, but also the poor gentleman that was the, you know, the person of interest that they brought in there. I mean, what a horrific situation he's been going through, to be sitting there and to be looked at for the murder of two individuals, cold-blooded slaying of two individuals, and then all of a sudden it's like, wrong guy, and he's gone. That's a nightmare of a situation for that poor guy. But you know what, Vin? I'm confident they're going to find this guy. You know, to me, this is a situation that's going to be very easy to trace. If he's targeted the school, which is what they believe he has, there's going to be something that's going to come out that's going to, bring him into the fold, and they'll bring the light on and get those clothes off of that individual. And we're going to find out exactly who, what, and why.
And Darnell, speaking of targeting, I think they have to investigate whether or not a specific victim was targeted as well.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, it's a shame, and I don't promote this type of behavior in general, but we're getting the big Y up in Buffalo. We're getting, church shootings. We're getting Walmart. It's not like, Robin Hood, these guys are going into the neighborhood and trying to stop drug dealers, or, like Denzel and Equalizer. I mean, they're going in where innocent students, children are learning. They're going in where people are praying. People are shopping. I just don't get it, and I think Australia at the first day of Hanukkah, at the beach. I mean, it's just getting really out of hand, and it's as Al will say, horrific. And there's no rhyme or reason. So it's very difficult for law enforcement, because the old way, you look for a motive, or you look for some connection. There's no connection. There's no clear motive these days. It's just insanity. And it's a shame, and we gotta get a grip on this.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully that arrest is imminent. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossley, Jennifer Brandt. Thank you all so much. Great to have you with us. When we come back, something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, they vanished into the Utah wilderness, a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and an 8-year-old, with their father leading them into a blinding winter storm. Found near death after a desperate night on a rock, their father's fate now rests in the hands of prosecutors. Did a loving dad recklessly gamble with his children's lives, or is there a far darker truth beneath the snow? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
These are the cases that captivated the world.
Couldn't keep my life straight. They were killed by their own children.
That challenged the legal system and ourselves. Court TV, Legendary Trials.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Verdict today, not unexpected. Brian Walsh accused of murdering his missing wife, Anna Walsh. The jury slept on it over the weekend, and then a few hours into today's deliberations, knocked on the door. We've got a verdict. Let's take a look.
Mr. Foreperson, in the matter of the Commonwealth versus Brian Walsh, Norfolk Superior Court Criminal Indictment Number 2023-0091. As to count 1, wherein the defendant Brian Walsh is charged with murder in the first degree, what say the jury? Is the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Guilty of what, sir?
Murder in the first degree.
Murder in the first degree. So say you, Mr. Foreperson.
I do.
I don't know, to me, it almost looked like he nodded. Yeah, you got me. There he is being cuffed afterwards inside of the courtroom. And this is a historic old courthouse, so there's no underground tunnels to get out of the courthouse when you're in custody. They got to walk you out of the building, and there he's out of the building and being placed into the van outside in the same streets where Karen Reed walked free. Not the same result for Brian Walsh. Okay, folks, take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Caitlin Dawn Spann. Caitlin, just 15 years old, missing out of Wichita, Kansas. If you see Caitlin, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Wichita Police Department. That number's on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Caitlin to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.